everyone, welcome back to Tina Teach Django. Today our lesson is about inserting and updating data. We'll be taking a look at how to add single and multiple records, as well as displaying the table, our database, and updating our database as well. So first off, with adding single record, we're just adding one value, one data into our database. And the member table that we created in previous lesson is still empty. Okay, so now obviously in this lesson we have to add some data into it so we can display it in our command prompt and see how it is. Now we're going to open a Python shell via the command line. A Python shell here is basically the Python IDLE. It's a development environment that comes with Python when you download it. If for some reason you don't have it, then you just uninstall Python in Windows through your control panel, or in Linux you just go through like the shell and you upgrade whatever you need to do. And once you reinstall Python, you have the IDLE. Well, for Linux maybe not, but I'm just speaking strictly in Windows, okay? And for this lesson, we'll also be working strictly with this IDLE, this Python environment, and we're not gonna dive so deep into like the command line like we did with activating our environment and then run server. None of that stuff, okay? So first off, open a Python shell via the command line with pymanage.py shell. Obviously, for this one, you have to be in the folder, right? In your command line, cd and then the route to navigate to your Django project folder that contains this manage.py file. Otherwise, it's going to return an error. And then from members.models import member objects all. This line right here, it's going to give you a query set, basically a list, a collection of data. And next up, we have, this time we're actually adding in value in the database. Member equals to member, first name and last name, Jess Brown. And then make sure to save, member.save, and when we execute this line over here, it will display to us all of the data that we've inserted into our member database. Okay, so member objects all values to view the newly added member. Let's move on to the second part, adding multiple records. Just like single records, you basically reiterate, right? Member 1, member first name last name. Member 2, member first name last name. And same goes member 3. You can do it with member 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 20, 100, however much you want. So it's very simple, very straightforward, and iterative. Okay, now we're using a for loop. For x in members list, x dot save, because obviously we're not, we have a bunch of records over here. We're not going to go through each of them and just say like, oh, save this, save this. Let's just use a for loop, to loop through each of them, and just x dot save for convenience. Okay, and then we display all of the data that we've inserted with member.objects.all values, the same thing that we have over here. Okay, so this line strictly for displaying the updated database. Now let's move on to updating data. First, to get the record that's already existing that we want to update. Okay, this is different from adding new data. We're changing data. From members.models import member, you gotta import it in, you gotta get the database. X equals to member.objects all, and we are getting it from the index 1, so it'll be 0, 1, the second value. Okay, the second data. X now represents the member at index 1. Now if you want to check, you can just go with x.firstname, and it'll display to you the old value that's already existing in the database. Now to change the value, you can go x_firstname equals to Millie and then x_save, and then display all of the data so you can see whether or not your codes are correct. Okay, as you can see, this may bear some resemblance to things like jQuery, Bootstrap. Well, sorry, not Bootstrap. Bootstrap is very similar to CSS, right? They're front end, not exactly back end. Like C, Java, and JavaScript as well. Yeah, with all of these, x equals the members objects, and then like x.firstname, and then index 0, 1, 2, 3. These are universal concepts and things that you will be seeing very, very often in different programming languages. Okay, so first what we're gonna do is, I'm in my first project, right? And I'm in members. I want to change the name of my function in views, so there's a little bit more clarity, because the function in views is named member, and the class and model is also named member. And if both are the same name, then Python has a lot of confusion and you may end up using the wrong thing. I'm gonna edit with the ideally. As you can see, instead of being member, I changed it to my member and nothing else. Okay, now I'm gonna close this, go back to my first project, make sure I copy the address as text, and open up the command prompt. cd, you know how this goes. And then I'm gonna go with manage.py shell to access the interactive console. Okay, now I'm gonna zoom this out so it's easier for you to see. From members, models, import member objects all. Okay, so this will show you the database. In my presentation, I said that it should be empty because we haven't added anything. However, I have added 1 or 2 data in here just so you can see how it looks like if you have some data already. Okay, as you can see, we have query set, and then member object 1, and then member object 2. All right, now let's move on into adding the data. Member equals to member. First name is let's say Bean. Let's say Bean, right? Bean. Last name Atkinson. Okay, Bean Atkinson. And then member.save, member objects all values. Okay, now we have our set over here with first name Jess, last name Brown, and then number 2 is Jane and Honey, and down here is Bean and Atkinson. Okay, now let's move on to adding multiple values at the same time. Now let's move on to adding multiple records. Member 4 equals to member first name Bean, last name Atkinson. Okay, Atkinson. Then let's go down here for member number 5. Member first name Jean, I guess. Jean. Last name, I'm just making up these names as I go. Jean, last name Mayweather. Okay, now let's create a list. Members list. Member 4, member 5. Okay, now for X in members list. Make sure to, space for indent, otherwise you're going to get an error. X dot save. Okay, just enter one more time to escape out of this. There we go. Member objects all values. As you know, we have 2 Bean Atkinsons, and I don't want that to be the case. So since I've inputted the 2 same data, now I want to change it, and this is the opportunity to do so. So we have X equals to member objects all. So it is number 4 in the database, but if we go by index rule 0, 1, 2, 3, it is at index number 3. Okay, and we can check that with X dot first name, and it is Bean. Okay, we got 1 Bean. Now I want to change it. X dot first name equals to Jeff. X dot save. Member objects all values. Okay. Now if we look over here, number 1, Jess Brown. Number 2, Jane Honey. Number 3, Bean Atkinson. Number 4, Jeff Atkinson. Number 5, Jean May Weather. So that's it for today's lesson. Thank you for tuning in and watching until the end. Do check out my my new video that's coming out, deleting data and updating model, a continuation of this lesson. So don't forget to like, subscribe, comment anything you're curious about. Learn today, better tomorrow, and have a wonderful day.